In this video, I'm going to teach you how to identify problematic text and improve readability, how to break away from the template, and how to preview your portfolio to catch errors. Now, what I'm going to show you right now is actually a draft of the portfolio that I created. And so what I want you to notice is some of the text and how the text that comes in from the portfolio template really is a challenge from a readability standpoint. And so just keep in mind that, so much of this work with the template is really helpful, that InDesign is thinking about all of these things for you and making your design process easier. But at the same time, we are designers and we have to always consider good design above all else, especially for how our viewer might be perceiving our information. And so a couple of things that I wanted to show you was the presentation of some of the text. And so you can see here in the very first draft of this assignment, I showed this to my viewer, and my viewer said to me, the text here is really challenging from a readability standpoint. And when text comes in from this template, in this particular text box, it's formatted to be in all capital letters. And it doesn't matter if you put your caps lock on or off, the template has created this text box to be restricted to only right and uppercase letters. And so for this, it's really difficult to not only read it, but also to understand the areas of emphasis within the text. So when I wrote this in Word, obviously the G for Georgian was capitalized, but here you can't even really see that. And that's just one small area of emphasis within this text. But, generally, it's almost like when you write in all caps, all of the text is important, and it's hard for the viewer to understand kind of where to start and stop. And it almost feels like screaming, how we're not supposed to write in all capital letters when we compose an email, for example. And so for this one, within my InDesign template, you can change the style of the text box, or I just actually deleted it and created a new text box in my next draft. You can also see another example here. And so on my template, I really liked the dark black background. Probably someone printing this wouldn't like it because it's going to take up all their black ink. But on a screen, it was really dynamic, and I loved the way that this spread looked. But this fuchsia text on the black background, not only is it in all capital letters, which is not good for readability, but it also has very low contrast. And so from an ADA perspective, an Americans with Disability perspective, this is very difficult for a person who might have an issue with their vision to be able to read this very clearly. And even though I love this color and I like how it appears in several spots within the template, I don't like the fact that it is difficult to read here. And I don't think it's necessarily doing all that much or benefiting me all that much to keep it in this color. So just bear in mind that, even if the template comes in with certain things set, we ultimately have to be able to identify this problematic text and improve readability by making sure that all of our text is case sensitive, or that we can tell if there's a change in the case, whether it's capital or lowercase, and then also making sure that the contrast is high enough that it's really easy to read. And so that's one of the ways that we start to break away from the template. The other thing that you also want to consider is elements in the template like this. And just bear in mind that when objects are shifted or rotated in such a way to create an angle, that's really the first thing that a viewer's eye goes to. And for example, if I was bringing a client into my conference room and the conference room was covered in all the swatches and materials that I wanted to present to them and have a decision from them on, if there was one in particular that I liked the best, I could rotate that swatch 45 degrees in a diamond shape, and instantly their eye is going to go to it. And so here with this rotation, this is the first thing that the eye is going to go to. And it's not all that important of an image. I mean, it's a visual reference, and that's important from a design standpoint. But really what I want people to look at is not this image that's angled. This is the culmination of my skills. And so this is going to serve as a distraction. In another page here, this template is actually, or this page of the template also came in with that kind of angled Polaroid shape to the side that had an angle that was not that, perfectly horizontal and vertical orientation. And I originally placed this visual reference in that box, and it was rotated. And for me personally, I don't necessarily like that sort of informal placement of angles that can be a bit arbitrary. And so I once again broke away from the template, and I rotated this visual reference so that it was horizontal and in line with the other horizontal elements within. And so one of the things that I did when I refined this draft was I changed that. I'm also going to go and change the orientation of this. And of course, I'm going to make sure that I change those two text issues to make sure that they read better. So what I want to show you now is how to preview your portfolio to catch errors. One way to do it is to export the PDFs and print it out, which I'll show you how to do that later. But another way is to go into InDesign and look at your file and go up to View. And you can go to Screen Mode and move over to Preview. And once it's in preview, all of those boxes and things that were evident before that reveal the underlying structure of your template, those all go away. And now you can start to really look at this as a more formal presentation. So preview should be set here, and high quality display, good. Now I'm not sure why that red text box is showing, so I'm going to click outside of it and make that go away. So that's how you can preview and start to see the way that your portfolio is going to present. Now, if you're trying to save paper, trying to save resources, one of the things that I'll do is I'll preview it here just like this, and then I'll have a little notebook in front of me where I'll reference the page numbers here, and I'll make notes of my little changes so that I don't have to print something like this out and then write on top of it. And that makes it a little bit easier. But this is where I look at, the alignment of text boxes. Are my swatches oriented properly? Are things the right size? Do they look, good? Is it a good image quality? Do I have all the text where I want it? And is it conveying my design intent? And that's really the best way to use this preview tool. So the idea is that you go through the entire portfolio previewed, then you make your changes, and then you go through it again. And it's just a series of subsequent reviews of your portfolio until it's good enough to show to a second set of eyes for a review. But at least now you know how to really begin to identify the problematic text and general readability, and to know the times that you can really break away from that portfolio template, still retaining, of course, the unique style and the nice graphic layout that InDesign created for you, but making it your own and eliminating elements that maybe are distracting or don't convey your personal style exactly. And so once you start to preview your InDesign portfolio, you can feel free and empowered to make those changes yourself so that it looks the very best that it can look.